Shalom, Apostle Hawk coming back at you with the truth, giving all praise to Yahweh Shemal Shai B'Shem HaKadosh. And I'm going to entitle this video, Nigeria Food Shortage and Other Topics, other prophetic topics. Anyway, I'm just going to go with the Spirit, see where the Spirit takes me. I'm going to jump around and deal with a lot of different topics. I may just stay on this topic. Let's see where the Spirit takes me. Anyway, you know, everything that we've been talking about, when I say we, I'm talking about us here at GMS and some of the other camps as well, but especially us, the members of GMS. You know, we mostly focus on prophecies. This is why we constantly stay on the subject of the MOTB, the end of this system. You know, the end of Esau, the beginning of Jacob. And whatever other prophecies we speak on, we're in the time of the fulfillment of all the prophecies, because as for prophecies, they will cease. In other words, in the kingdom of heaven, ain't no prophets, ain't nobody gonna walk around saying I'm a prophet, and this is gonna happen in the next 1,000 years. Once the kingdom is established, the Most High's kingdom is gonna be an everlasting kingdom. Is gonna be the continuation of Solomon's kingdom, which Solomon is Yahweh Shai. If you're a Christian, that just went over your head. I was watching a video, I put it on my favorites. This guy, what's his name? The guy that sounds like Sergeant Waters. I'll bring him up in a minute. His name will come back to me. And he was talking about hell. Like hell is a real place, you know? Christianity has played the hell out. They don't know what the hell is going on. They can't see what's taking place before their eyes. They believe that somebody that becomes a president that swears in on the Bible, that they're true Christians, and they're not. They don't see that this famine that's already here in America and a lot of places around the world, this famine was set up by the powers that be. And now we fully understand, or should fully understand, 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and 2nd Ezra chapter 16, and really 15, 14, 12, 11, 10, 9. The second Ezra is a powerful book. Goes into a lot of prophecies. You know, Revelation is coming to pass right before our eyes. But are the Christian churches going through the book of Revelation? No, not really. Especially the so-called black church. Anyway, so I put in Nigeria food shortage, right? And this is what came up. Nigeria famine. The report said that food crisis will affect Nigerians in 21 states and FCT, including 416,000 internally displaced persons, IDPs. It noted that about 14 0.4 million people, including 385,000 IDPs in 21 states and FCTs of Nigeria, are already in the food crisis. Till May 2022. $19.4 million Nigerians to face food insecurities by August 2022. So we're talking, here we are in May, June, July, August. So in 3 months, not almost 20 million people will experience, well, it says here food insecurities. That means you know, one day you eat, the next day you don't eat. 2 days you eat, the next day you eat. And it seems like it's coming over here. You know, but the so-called people of the US, citizens of the US, dummies, I call them, they're not worried about it because they've never experienced these things that happen all around the world. Famines, you know, watching a commercial 3 in the morning, infomercial of somebody showing you a picture of a starving African kid, flies flying around them and whatnot. And they're saying, if you give $19 a month, this can feed 1,000 people a month, or whatever the case may be. They got the dog commercials, you know, pets, you know, neglected pets. And if you know, hey, all that stuff is coming right here to America. Fulfillment of 2nd Ezra chapter 15. And, you know, people, these monkey-minded Christians, they're going to realize that what they've been following in Christianity is all BS. There's no answers for Christianity. No answers for Christianity. You got this guy, Vocab Malone, coming around. It's like, we're going to convert and follow him. Ain't nobody going to follow him. You don't know the scriptures. You don't know the prophecies. You're clueless when it comes to the prophecies. And you can't comprehend certain things in the scriptures, like reincarnation, that the Most High, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, came for the nation of Israel only. That's what the Bible is all about. So anyway, let me read on. I'm a little all over the place. And so what are the causes of food shortage in Nigeria? And you have a lot of our people in Nigeria. Despite what the ISUPK says, they're the only group, major group that says that if you're from Nigeria or Ghana or Sierra Leone or Liberia or Senegal, which, by the way, Malcolm X is Senegalese. He might not look like a Senegalese, but he's a Senegalese. His father was straight, pure, Black Senegalese. It says in Nigeria, there is high level, there are high levels of food insecurity, I should say. For the past 4 decades, 40 years, as a result of neglect in food production. What does food production mean? That they produce food. They grow grain, wheat, corn, whatever, and they produce products from that. Chickens, they raise chickens, they farms. And what's happened over here in the States? Whether accident or by design, you've been hearing in the news about these, I'll say, food uh, um, producing uh, companies, um, people that produce different foods from raw material, raw food from corn, from meat, packaging plants, um, big industrial farms. A lot of these meat processing plants and food processing plants, planes. There's been a couple of stories of planes crashing into some of these places, food production places, I'll call them, food production places, FP, FPP, fires. And they said as of this year, I believe there's 31, 32 of these incidents that took place within the last couple of months. So is that a series of accidents or by design? We believe by design. And Christians ain't talking about it. Like I said, people go to church on Sundays, which is not the Sabbath. That's the day of the sun god, Ra, which goes back to the Egyptians, to the pagans. Your Christianity is based upon reading scripture, not understanding scripture, and these pagan religions like Easter. All you Christians, you're gonna all die. You're gonna all die. You're gonna take the charagma because your pastors are gonna tell you to take it. And I said, and this is my opinion, my thought. It's not a prophecy. I didn't have a dream about it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they have set up these charagma stations either inside the church or right outside the church. Well, they did that with the jump shot. Anyway, it says, what are the causes of food shortages in Nigeria? And it says, neglect in food production. When oil has become the major export product, now Venezuela had or has what they produce is oil. But if nobody's buying your oil, you're assed out, so to speak. Remember, look at, go to the YouTube videos and put Venezuela. What's happening in Venezuela? Venezuela got so bad that they were actually eating animals. People were eating each other. You had long lines. You had to stand in a line for like 8, 9, 10 hours. And sometimes the products that you needed, they ran out of those products. You had riots. Riots are going to take place all over the place. Uproars of the people. That's what the scriptures say. Uproars of the people. Famine. By design. And you people out there ain't ready, especially you Christians. You Christians, well, anybody that doesn't know that they're Israelites. It said neglect in food production when oil has become the major export product. But if nobody buys your oil, you're out. And because of that, because of the adoption of neoliberal we call them Democrats over there, over here, liberals, neoliberal economic policies such as the valuation of, it should be of the naira, which is the Nigerian dollar. And the Nigerian dollar doesn't go a long way in America. That's why if you're an American, you go to Nigeria, you're gonna live like a king with the American dollar, the US dollar. It says trade liberalization and withdrawal of government from, I gotta click on to read more of that, but this is what caught my eye. It said there's no real food production. What they produce is oil. And like I said, you know what happened with Venezuela, with all the oil that they possess and still have. If nobody buys, you suffer. And that's why the prices during the time of the Obama administration, and even maybe the last, I don't know, 2 years of the Trump administration, gas dropped at one point down to like $1.99, $2, $2.03, $2.05. But people were kind of pretty much happy about that. And the reason why they did that, that's called you got a thing called hyperinflation, and you got inflation and deflation. Prices go up, then nobody buys, and prices go down. Now you can get like a 70-inch TV for next to nothing. When they first came out, a 70-inch TV would cost you $2,000 and change. Nobody's buying flat screens anymore like they used to. So let me read that again. Oil has become the major, as a result of neglect in food production. When oil has become the major export product, and that because of the adoption of neoliberal economic policies, such as the devaluation of the naira. The valuation of the naira is meaning you're producing money. They say printing money, but there's two ways to make money come into existence. That's by printing paper dollars, or naira, if I'm saying it right, and going to a central bank, putting a 1 there, followed by a bunch of zeros. And a central bank is a bank of issue, which issues money to other banks at interest, but their interest rate might be 1%, might be 0.5%. And what banks do, they lend money to you at a teaser rate, could be 5%, but ultimately you're gonna wind up, your interest rate is gonna wind up being, your APR is gonna wind up being anywhere around 29%, which is pretty much loan sharking. And that's how it works. So the banks become rich mainly because of usury. So out here in Nigeria, they're doing the same thing. The valuation of the naira, trade liberalization, and withdrawal of government from, I'm not going to click on that. It says food insecurity in Nigeria, way forward African journals online. Okay, it says search for what are the causes of food shortages in Nigeria. What are the food problems in Nigeria? Nigeria is still characterized by high reliance on food imports. What does that mean? They rely on other countries to ship foods to them. And Nigeria is a vast, what you should have did was build farms. You're relying on other countries. And look up food as a weapon. How do you think so-called Egypt became a great? They used food as a weapon. It says malnutrition is widespread in the entire country, and rural areas is where you build farms, are especially vulnerable to chronic food shortages, malnutrition, unbalanced nutrition, erratic food supply, poor quality foods. Sound like America. The foods that you eat, you know, you go to the Mickey D's and the Wendy's and so forth. That's not real food. That's corporate food. It's GMO food. GMO foods, high food costs, and even total lack of food. And that I see that being the world. Well, that's coming over here. Okay, why does food shortages happen? A shortage of food may happen when not enough food is produced. They don't produce they're you know, they produce oil. That's pretty much it. Such as when crops fail due to drought, pest, or too much moisture. But the problem can also result from the uneven distribution of natural resources, endowment for a country, and by human institutions such as government and public policies, he said. Why is Africa not food secure? This report shows that the food system in Africa does not provide food at a cost that makes nutritious food affordable. So you got to eat that junk to fill your belly to a majority of the population. And this is reflected in the high disease burden associated with maternal and child malnutrition, high body mass, micronutrient deficiencies, and dietary risk factors. You know, not having the proper nutrition causes diseases. So they said this part of this happened because of the Crown Vic, but then it's causing more diseases because people are not eating right. Anyway, let me go into some precepts here. Let me just open this up first. Okay, I saw this tab, so I said, let me click on it. Putin puts West on notice, may terminate exports and deals altogether. Putin puts West on notice, Moscow can terminate exports and deals. And by the way, the U.S. is at war with the former Soviet Union. How is that so? Because they're supplying. Well, recently, last week, they gave 33 billion, and I believe that the Ukraine has asked for another 33 billion. But before that, they were giving them 8 billion here, sending them weapons and so forth. There's news now that Israeli troops are in the Ukraine. Let me put that in. Okay, Israeli troops in Ukraine. I-24 News. This is the I represents Israel, which is a pretty good news company. Pretty much like RT. It's like the Israel version of RT. Pretty good. I watch it from time to time. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna watch it after I close this video. So I-24 News special report: Israeli Ukraine returns home to fight front lines. That was a month ago. Because there's a whole backstory behind Ukraine, the whole Ukraine and Ukraine and Israel, the Israeli connection. You know, that's what's coming out even on CNN. There was a thing on CNN that the finance minister of Russia said that because they were being called Nazis, and they said, "Well, we're not Nazis, we're Jews." And how can we be Nazis? And the financial minister of Russia, I don't know, I forget his name. He said that Hitler was a Jew. So they had a thing on CNN about it, and we've been taught that. You know, he's a small hat based upon his you know, his, I don't even want to go into it, but that's what that was all about. Because they may take this thing down. Oh, wait a minute, he said the J word, we got to take him down. It says Russia-Ukraine conflict. Israel sends humanitarian aid to help Ukraine amid, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm probably just going to put this on what do you call it? Odyssey. So now I can go in. Russia-Ukraine conflict. Israel sends humanitarian aid to help Ukraine amid Russian invasion. Why? Because that's where these people came from before they went to Israel. Israeli commandos reported training Ukrainians to take on Putin's Russia as Bennett plays mediator. Russia-Ukraine conflict, thousands take to streets in Israel against Russian invasion of Ukraine. Okay, this is 1 day ago. Will Israel now send arms to Ukraine? And who backs Israel? The US. Russia-Ukraine war. Estonia may send Israeli spike missiles to Kyiv. Iron Domes for Kyiv next. That's a missile defense system. Israel has chosen a side, and Ukraine diplomat says, and look at the guy's hand right there. Look at him. Look at that. So we're in World War III. The only thing holding it back is the U.S. is not physically involved. Two months ago, and this is, you're not going to find this on CNN. It says elite Israeli special forces join Ukraine armed forces, and we should ask ourselves why. Because before, anyway, it says Israel soldiers go to fight opposite Russia in Ukraine. This is a good YouTube channel. WION, Eon, whatever, YON, whatever, however you say it. It said NATO or Russia, who's at fault? This a month ago, Gravitas, which is a news company. Did NATO push Ukraine into war? Did NATO push Ukraine into war? At least shall draw them out. The least of them shall draw them out. Jeremiah 49. Tensions escalate between Russia and Israel over Lavrov's claim that Hitler was part Jewish. Yeah, that's what that was. Lavrov is the financial minister of Russia. And that was featured on CNN. Ukraine war. Israel says Lavrov's Hitler remarks unforgivable. What comes to mind, what scripture precept comes to mind is the Apostle Paul, Galatians 4, verse 16. And I become your enemy because I tell you the truth. If they're going to make a statement, somebody that this high up, they're going to do a fact check. NATO's already involved in it. It said NATO deploys part of combat-ready response forces for Ukraine. Israeli citizen killed in Ukraine as war continues. The least of them shall draw them out. This is put up 3 days ago. Israel outrage over anti-Semitic statements from Russia. It said dozens, this was put up as of a month ago, dozens of Israeli IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, elite special forces fighting against Russia in Ukraine. There's a reason behind that. CBN, Mr. Pat Robinson. He said he did a video, Pat Robinson, a couple of years back. He said that the MOTB is not the charagma, but they are going to put a charagma in you, but it's not that. Then he quotes the scriptures on it. That's called doublespeak. Israel, it says CBN, Israel condemns Russia's Ukraine invasion, stops short of military assistance to Kyiv. Well, the forces are there. And the Ukraine is a breadbasket to most of Europe, if not all of Europe. Okay, this is as of today. Okay, Putin planning Victory Day in Mariupol, major stronghold of the Ukraine. Putin's forces say NATO supply lines bombed in Ukraine. Russia claims Israelis fighting along Azov. But the churches, these Christians are not talking about this. Creep low dollar, TD fakes. Ukraine war update, Turkey and Israel. Who you think the Turkish are? Where did their history go back to? The people of Israel today. What do you think their history goes back to? A lot of people in Israel today came from Ukraine, among other places in Europe. Office to host president of Ukraine and Russia. So this is an all-out, full-scale ground war. Some simple as Ammonite. The least of them shall draw them out. I keep saying that. I keep popping in my head. Revelation 6. They shall kill each other, I'm paraphrasing, and they shall be given a great sword. That was a blessing that Isaac gave to Esau. The way you're going to get your blessings is you got to kill, you got to destroy people. CBS, CNBC. Americans travel to Ukraine to volunteer as foreign fighters, combat medics, and trainers. So the U.S. is is already involved, but they're not fully committed. You know, they're playing behind the scenes. The war in Ukraine could change everything. Only prophecy that hasn't come to pass is getting ready to come to pass is the Karagma. Putin stations thousands of Russian troops in Belarus, which Belarus is a ally of Russia, as fears of Ukraine invasion rise. U.S. troops travel to Ukraine border to support NATO. And the list goes on and on. Ukrainian soldiers say Russian troops look desperate and battle for Donetsk, the next, how do you say it, region. Welcome Center, CNN, Welcome Center set up by U.S. troops at Ukraine's border. And real wars when they enter the Levant, the Fertile Crescent, Israel. All hell is getting ready to break loose. Israeli president visits Ukraine. And this was up long before the war started, which the war is going on 2 months, 6 months ago. And this war goes back to 2014, 8 years. Let me come back up here. Let me filter this out. Let me go to last hour. All right, 46 minutes ago, Russia killed 600 Ukrainian soldiers. This is as of 46 minutes ago. Russia's military hit heavy strike, 600 Ukrainian fighters killed. NATO may add troops in Baltics. That's a lot of people, you know. It's called a surgical strike. Take out a whole lot of them at once. And then it says NATO may add troops in Baltics. So, you know, this, as soon as there's conflict between, like if Russia shoots a missile into any of the NATO countries, then all of NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, has to get involved, and that's World War III. So let me give you some precepts here. You know what? Let me do this. Let me do this. Putin apologizes over Hitler role. 600 Ukrainian fighters killed. NATO may add troops in Baltic 17 hours ago. Putin's war in Ukraine, roots, consequences, and what it means for the Middle East. Because ultimately everything gonna be shifted to the Middle East. The Omer and restoration of Israel. Russia's military hit heavy strike. 600 Ukrainian fighters killed. NATO may add troops in Baltic. And all the churches agree that the small hats are the actual people. It's a fulfillment of prophecy. What prophecy? I don't know. Because war, the nation will learn war no more. So that prophecy is not fulfilled. It says Putin apologizes for what? He knows the deal. So let's go to a couple of precepts. Let's go to Jeremiah. I'll read through that real quick. You know it very well. 49. Says prophecy against Edom. Did this come to pass? Jeremiah 49. Vocab. concerning Edom, thus saith the Lord of hosts, his wisdom no more in Teman, his counsel perished from the prudent, as their wisdom vanished. Flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan. For I will, and these are ancient places, Dedan, Teman. It says, flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan. For I will, like this, like Babylon is really Basra. I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit him. So the Most High is going to visit you. If grape gatherers come to thee, would they not leave some gleaming grapes? Now, that means when you go back into the law, as an Israelite, you were supposed to, if you had grapes, if you grew grapes to make wine or whatever, or just eat the grapes, you would leave 10%. You would take 90% in the middle and leave like a circle of 10% for the poor. So that was our welfare system. So nobody starved, you know? And we lived in tents at first in the wilderness. If grape gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some gleaming grapes? If thieves by night, they will destroy till they have enough. When somebody breaks into your house or your car, they don't take everything. They don't clean you out. They go to see if they can get your jewelry, see if you got money. They're not saying, well, let's take this guy's couch. Let's take his he got a 100-inch TV. Let's take that. Let's get no, because you get caught in the process. So thieves steal until they had enough. Oh, we got the jewels. Let's be out of here. But I have made Esau bare. In other words, when the Most High comes, and the Most High is coming as a thief in the night. When I say the Most High, I'm talking about Yahweh Shai, the angels, the chief angel is going to be Michael. Revelation 12, Daniel 12. Now, Daniel 12 is Jacob. Daniel 12:1 is Jacob's trouble. But it's talking about anytime we go through hell, it's Jacob's trouble. Well, wait a minute. Then when did Michael show up? So Michael showed up 1,000 times in history. It said, but I have made Esau, we know who Esau is, or who the Edomites are. There, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. There's not going to be no more Edomites. They're going to be destroyed. But them as people, they're going to still be on the earth, but they're going to be slaves. It says, leave thy fatherless children, I will preserve them alive, and let thy widows trust in me. That's showing you that he's not going to destroy all of them. Leave thy fatherless children, I will preserve them alive, and let thy widows trust in me. So the men are going to be cut off. You're going to have the children, boys and girls among Edom, and their widows. They're going to be slaves. But thus saith Yahweh, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have surely drunken, and art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished. So the Most High punished us, his people, but he's not going to punish y'all, not the people that he hates. Malachi 1, Romans 9, thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. It speaks about that cup in the Most High's indignation in Revelation 18. For I have sworn by myself, saith the Lord Yahweh, that Bozrah shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual waste. What's going to do that? the missiles. And we look up the word Bozrah. Perpetual waste means everlasting waste. A town in Edom, a town in Moab, but it's talking about a town in Edom. Okay, it says, and Bela died, and Jobab, the son of Zerah of Bozrah, reigned instead. Bozrah is a land of the Edomites. Okay, this is what I wanted. Isaiah 34, verse 6. The sword of Yahweh is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs, the lambs are you, and goats, with the fat of the kidney of rams. For Yahweh hath a sacrifice in Bozrah, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. Now we know it's not talking about the land of Edom. The land of Idumea is another name for this place, is also the land of Idumea, the land of Edom, because Edom controls this place. Isaiah 63, verse 1. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Bozrah? This that is glorious in his apparel, that's Yahweh Shai, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I speak in righteousness, mighty to save. And you know the rest of the story. Jeremiah 48, verse 24. And upon Kerioth, and upon Bozrah, and upon all the cities of the land of Moab. That's talking about Bozrah in the land of Moab. Jeremiah 49, verse 13. For I have sworn by myself, saith Yahweh, that Bozrah shall become a desolation. So another word for we know Bozrah is Babylon the Great. A reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual waste. Perpetual means everlasting. It's never going to come back. It's going to become the biggest desert on the planet. 22nd verse. Behold, he shall come up and fly as an eagle, and spread his wings over Bozrah, and those are the ships. And at that day shall the heart of the mighty man of Edom be as the heart of woman in her pains. They're gonna bitch up. But I will send a fire upon Teman, which shall devour the palaces of Bozrah. Teman, Edom, east the Edomites. Bozrah, the Edomites. Edom, the land of Edom. But I will send a fire upon Teman, the Edomites, which shall devour the palaces of Bozrah. Their fire is a nuclear fire. All kinds of precepts come to mind. First verse, come ye, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of Yahweh is upon all nations, and his fury upon all your armies. He have utterly destroyed them. He have delivered them to the slaughter. So the Most High is going to take all this system. He's going to take it out, and all you nations are going to lose power, and you're going to just be slaves under us. It says, their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountain shall be melted with their blood. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, a mushroom cloud, and all their hosts shall fall down as a leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a fallen fig from the fig tree. See, we covered all the prophecies. So you keep hitting the same. We covered all the prophecies. Every prophetic, every prophecy that getting ready to take place. New things that I bring to thee. Was that Isaiah 42 verse 9? The former things that come to pass. You look up the word dissolved. The churches are not talking about this. They're not talking about the end of the world. They're not talking about the latter days. They're not talking about the kingdom of heaven. They're not talking about the MOTB. You know, all these churches believe that the small hats are the people. So you don't even deal with them. You got to be out of your damn mind. Okay, so it says Ezekiel 4 verse 17, that they may want bread and water and be astonished one with another and consume away for their iniquity. The missiles are going to cause them to consume away. Ezekiel 24, verse 23. And your tires shall be upon your heads, and your shoes upon your feet. Ye shall not mourn nor weep, but ye shall pine away for your iniquity and mourn one toward another. Let's see what Ezekiel 33:10 says. Therefore, O thou son of man, speak unto the house of Israel, thus ye speak, saying, if our transgressions and our sins be upon us, and we pine away in them, how shall we then live? Because the Most High is going to raise you back up. Zechariah 14:12. It says, now this is based upon the word dissolved in Isaiah 34. Let me go back to that. Isaiah 34:4. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. That can only describe, nuclear bomb, ICBM, hypersonic missile. Zechariah 14:12. Same word, dissolve, yes, consume away. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. The list is, if you go to Psalms 83, you'll get the list. Number one on the list is Edom. So you know the Edomites are not done away with. So what the hell is vocab alone talking about? Oh, the Edomites are done away with. Where'd you get that from? Where's the receipts for that? Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. Now, high priest Ariah will break it down like this. It said, their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, meaning they're not going to see a future. They're not, because when Esau goes down, they rebuild, right? That's happened throughout history. But they're not going to see the future anymore. And their tongue shall consume away in their mouth, meaning they're not going to speak. They're not going to talk, ish anymore. Let me go to Daniel 7. Daniel 7. Speak is mentioned 2 times. Daniel 7 verse 8, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little one. Now, scholars will say that that's talking about Antiochus Epiphanes. That's talking about Babylon the Great. Before whom there were 3 of the first ones plucked up. Now that goes into the Spanish-American War, French-American War, Revolutionary War between Great Britain and England. 3 of the first ones plucked up, because who really came to this place first? Well, it was Spain through Christopher Columbus. It was Spain, France, and England, Great Britain. Great Britain had what was called the 13 colonies, really the East Coast. Spain had the West Coast and other parts of the country, and the French had in history, it's called the Louisiana Purchase. Well, the U.S. purchased Louisiana from the French. If you Google it, it'll tell you it was a purchase made. Sometimes they purchased the land. Sometimes they went to war for the land. Ultimately, you had 3 major wars that the U.S. fought. As a matter of fact, let me do this. Spanish-American War. The Spanish-American War was a period of armed conflict between Spain and the United States. Hostilities began in the aftermath of the internal explosion of USS Marine in Havana Harbor in Cuba, leading to United States intervention in the Cuban War of Independence, 1898. So they were killing each other, Revelation chapter 6. French French-American War. That was 100 years before the Spanish-American War. The French and Indian War, yeah, because they were fighting against Gad, Reuben, and other Edomites from France. The France and Indian War was a theater of the 7 Years' War, which pitted North American colonies of the British Empire against those of the French, each side being supported by various Native American tribes. So you had some of the Native American tribes fighting on the side of the U.S. and others fighting on the side of the French. Start date 1754, ended 17. It was a 9-year war. We were the first ones that fucked up. Revolutionary. Revolutionary War. 1775. And when did they declare independence? A year later, 1776. The American Revolutionary War, also known as the Revolutionary War or American War of Independence, secured a United States of America independence from Great Britain. Fighting began on April 19th, 1775, followed by the Declaration of Independence on July 4th. So there goes your secular history. Okay, Daniel 7. The fourth beast we know is the Roman Empire. And I'm going to show you that in the, whatchamacallit, let me go to it right now. Esau teaches what we teach, for the most part. Let's see if they teach what we teach. Do this. All right, Benson commentary. Behold, the fourth beast. This fourth kingdom can be no other than the Roman Empire. And all nations that had been subject to them. They reduced Macedon into a Roman province. He said to devour the whole earth, or the known earth, should say, to tread it down and break it in pieces, and become in a manner what the Roman writers delighted to call it, the empire of the whole world, or the whole known world. That is in, intimated by its having no name, being more cruel and horrible than any sort of beast, whatever, and the Roman powers were so multiform. Josephus, and the author of the Apocalypse of Baruch, being among the number, maintained the Roman Empire to be meant the beast is diverse from all the beasts that were before it. In all the previous empires, Babylonians, Medo-Persians, Greeks, and then the Romans, the constitution was avowedly monarchical, meaning kings. With the Roman, the Republican Constitution appeared. Matthew Poole's commentary, The Fourth Beast, this was the Roman Empire. For that followed the Grecians and was monstrous as to his rise and progress. Gill's exposition of the entire Bible, nor the duration of it agree, but the Roman Empire, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, exceeding powerful as the Roman Empire was. This is the Roman Empire. Signifies the tyranny and greediness of the Romans, that which the Romans could not quietly enjoy in other countries. So when they say, well, these Israelites are just making this up, I just read a bunch of different so-called Christian scholars. It says, I considered a verse. I considered the horn that behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were three of the first horns plucked up. Now we went into the history. Spanish-American War, French-American War, the Revolutionary War, plucked up by the roots. And behold, in his horn were the eyes of men, and a mouth speaking great things. He said, we're going to go to the moon. You know, a lot of things that were said. There's a reason why America became the world reserve currency after England. And he spake great word, that he represents Babylon. And he spake great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given unto his hand until a times, and a dividing time. We went through this earlier. That's talking about from a time period of 1619 to 1970. That's when they Obadiah, that's when they started going down. Anyway, with that, I'm gonna say shalom.